Hey y'all, my name is Tanny and I love to cook. Today I'm going to show you how to make a delicious dirty rice. You can add your own meat, your own vegetables, and it's going to be so delicious that after you make this one time, you're never going to want to order what restaurants call dirty rice or Cajun rice. It just won't compare. Let's get to cooking. We're going to start off with cleaning our chicken livers. You don't have to use chicken livers as is done in the traditional sense for dirty rice. You can use ground beef, ground Italian sausage, ground turkey sausage, vegan sausage, or even no meat at all, and just use the vegetables and herbs to make a delicious dish. If you're using chicken livers, you want to be sure to wash them thoroughly, as I'm doing here. After washing your chicken livers, you want to strain them and then put them into a smaller bowl. Now I'm going to use one of my Pyrex bowls that I love. It's a glass bowl that's 1 quart and it has a plastic lid that's color coded on top, and it's a whole set that nests together. So I'm going to put my chicken livers in my bowl, and then I'm going to add the typical buttermilk to it in order to get the tinny flavor out of chicken livers that many people find undesirable. You want to leave it in this buttermilk for a couple of hours up to overnight. There is a second step I like to use. So typically I'll do buttermilk for 3 or 4 hours. And while that's soaking, I want to show you the whole set of bowls. It comes in 1 quart to 4 quart size bowls, 4 bowls with 4 tops. And the great thing about these bowls, these Pyrex bowls, is that they nest within each other. So if you would like to buy these off of Amazon, I have 3 sets, and I'll probably buy more. But if you want to buy them, I'll leave a link in the description box below. They're easy to store on the counter as well as in your refrigerator with the tops. So I just love them, so I wanted to show them to you. The next day I have my chicken livers out and I'm ready to rinse them out of the buttermilk and put them into a bigger bowl for seasoning. Now I'm pulling off some connective tissue that I see, and we're going to do more of that now as we cut that bit off with our knife. So connective tissue or fibrous tissue that you don't want to chew on in your final dish is what we're cutting off here. You want to cut these into nice bite-sized pieces to your liking. Now that I have my chicken livers cut into bite-sized pieces, you want to add them back to your bowl. Now it's time to season our meat. I'm going to start off with some lemon pepper, and you want to season to your liking. Next up is poultry seasoning. You definitely want this McCormick poultry seasoning. It is a blend of several spices, and I'll have a link to it in the description box below. My ground black pepper is up next. Ground onion powder. I'm going to put this into a teaspoon just for measurement purposes, but typically I don't measure with a specific spoon size. Here, garlic powder, I'm not even going to bother. I'm just doing this to show you about how much I use. So about a teaspoon, but you can use more if you like it. Next up is our seasoning salt. If you don't have it, you can use regular salt or sea salt. Smoked paprika. Again, you want to add this to your liking. I love the flavor of smoked paprika in a lot of different dishes. I'm using Tony seasoning. This has salt in it, so you want to be cautious with the amount you use. And then lastly, I'm going to add some mustard, and this mustard is key because it adds flavor with the mustard, but also mustard contains vinegar, and so that helps tenderize the meat as it marinates. So I'm going to let it marinate overnight. If you don't have that long, you can give it just a few hours, but that's up to you. The next day, I'm gonna go ahead with my aroma rice cooker and I'm gonna create some delicious rice. I'm gonna start off by oiling my rice cooker pan with enough olive oil to coat the bottom and sides of the pan so that the rice doesn't stick. And I just swirl it around the pan to make sure the pan is coated at the bottom where the rice will be. I'm not making a lot of rice for this dish, so I don't have a lot of oil in my pan. Next up is to get my rice. This is parboiled rice from Sam's, so I'm not going to rinse it off first. If I was using regular jasmine rice, then I would rinse it off. That's just my personal preference. But here I'm just going to use 1 cup of rice. And to 1 cup of rice, I'm going to add 2 cups of water. That's the recipe my mother gave me years ago for making rice, and it still works for me today. So that's what I continue to do in my rice cooker. And this rice cooker is great because it cooks brown rice and white rice. I will add a little sea salt for additional flavor. You could put in a dab of butter if you like, or even cook this with chicken stock instead of water. But because our dirty rice is going to be so seasoned, water is fine for me here. Now my rice is finished, so I'll just give you a look. 1 cup makes about 2 cups cooked. So I'll just leave it there and let it keep warm as I cut up my vegetables. I'm using my Cuisinart knives. This is the black set with this covering on it. I'm going to cut up a bell pepper, 3 pieces of celery. I like to break my celery in half and then pull off the fibrous strings. Those are the tough parts that tend to get caught in your mouth that I don't like. So I'll just pull those off before I dice up my celery. Now that I have my bell pepper, celery, and onion diced up, I'm going to cut up my Polish kielbasa. Here I'm using beef Polish kielbasa. Next up, I want to fry off some bacon in my pan because I like that extra bit of flavor in my dirty rice. Because remember, we're not just flavoring the meat and the vegetables we cook, but also that rice. If you don't eat bacon, then you certainly could use olive oil as I'm doing in this shot. It's equally delicious. It's just up to your personal taste. So here I'm going to put in my mustard marinated chicken livers. If you don't have chicken livers, then you can put in your other meat or sausage at this point to cook it off. We just want our meat to be fully cooked before we add in our rice. So here is my meat cooking off in the oil. I'm going to add some Tanny's seasoning, but this is the no salt kind. So I'm going to be a little bit more liberal with it. I will get the flavor without the additional sodium, which is exactly what I want. It may look like a lot of oil in the pan, but it's really not, because remember we have a couple of cups of rice coming in to this same pan to cook. That also needs to be seasoned with that oil. So with the chicken liver, you want to just continue moving it around until it fully cooks. And next up, I'm going to add my beef sausage. But if you're using other meats, then you would just add them in at the levels you desire. Now it's time to add a little bit more oil because I'm going to add my vegetables to the pan. My celery, my onions, and my bell peppers. If you don't have fresh celery, you can use dehydrated celery or even celery flakes. If you don't have fresh onion or fresh bell pepper, you certainly could use frozen. I do that at different times. It's up to your personal taste. You could also use canned pimentos or canned roasted red peppers are also delicious items in dirty rice. If you're doing this vegan style, instead of meat, you could saute off some eggplant, zucchini, or mushrooms. Here I'm adding additional butter, a couple of tablespoons. This is to flavor what's in the pan as well as the rice that's going to be coming soon. More Tanny's. I love the seasoning, y'all. So you want to just taste it at each level. Once your meat is cooked, taste it. Once your vegetables are cooked, taste it. And then you'll know at each step if you need to add more seasoning. Here I'm adding adobo. It's a little bit humid when I was making this, so you can see my seasoning was a little bit chunked up, but it was enough to sprinkle into my pan as well. You could add dried oregano, dried thyme, dried parsley. Here I'm adding more poultry seasoning. Black pepper. If you have white pepper or cayenne pepper or even jalapeno dried pepper, you can certainly add any of those as well. The great thing about this dish is that you can make it your own and it is so delicious. I'm using some minced garlic that was refrigerated. If you have fresh garlic, you can cut that up yourself, but minced garlic is easy to use, and so I get lazy sometimes. I like to use it in my recipes. Now it's time to add the rice. So I'm just going to add about a half a cup at a time and then stir it into my meat and vegetables until it's well incorporated before I add the remaining amount of rice. And again, this part is up to your liking. So do you like more rice with less meat and vegetables? Or do you like more meat and vegetables with less rice? You can really make it to your personal taste. And that's the awesome thing about cooking at home. You'll notice my rice is not clumpy at all, even though I did not wash it and I did not make it the night before. This is the same day rice. The aroma cooker really is the bomb. I've had it for several years and it's done me justice the whole time. Next up, I'm going to add some chicken broth, or you could add chicken stock. If you have beef broth or beef stock or veggie stock, you can certainly add that instead. You just want to add enough broth or stock to halfway cover the ingredients in your pan. Ultimately, we want to bring this to a high simmer or slight boil and let the liquid cook out mostly. That's going to impart a great amount of flavor to our final dish and make sure that our vegetables and rice and meat are fully cooked. Look at that sizzle. That looks so good. I eat this as a side dish, but the day after, I usually eat this as my lunch. So you can just put a top on it and bring the simmer down pretty low, and then look at how beautiful that looks. You'll see it's a little bit of liquid left at the bottom that I'm just going to cook out, and then I'm going to be ready to serve this. So delicious. This is my dirty rice, y'all. I add some parsley on top, some cilantro on side, and here we are. This is the bomb dish that everyone will love. Thank you for watching my video. Please subscribe and leave me a comment below to let me know if you make this in the future. I'd love to know how it turned out for you. Thank you.